Not to say it
you hear
like
that,
that.
man?
Dame came up under Hustlers. That Impact was it. He was a little dude when it came to hustling in Harlem. He wasn't not no
See,
Rich Porter, none of that
see,
type
bro,
of.
from down
He
south,
wanted
bro,
to
we don't
hustle.
know all
He
that.
wanted to hustle for niggas like Rich Porter and that. Dame from the East Side. When the niggas on the East Side is different from the niggas from the West Side. Now for the East Side, Dame was a big deal to us because we were little and he was coming from the West Side, little car, jewelry, and all that. So when you're young, he's looking like Rich Porter, but in reality, he was like this. The nigga, go to the store, nigga, take a couple grams, get out of here.
Hustle out the street side of it and go into the music business of it. What was his impact with Dipset at that time?
He didn't have no impact with Dipset. Dipset, we made our impact on our own.
When y'all came over to Roc-A-Fella, did y'all bring a certain energy that kind of ruffled the feathers of like state property and people like that?
When we came over to Roc-A-Fella, it was all love. Everybody in the studios doing music, state property, Bleak and Diplomats. Everybody was doing music that started until they went through all that damn
Could
shit.
you else say Cam took over the Rock, huh?
I mean, in that sense, talented. He was a dancer. I mean, and Mace didn't excel at the rapping really to after high school. They started getting on it, and then he excelled, and then started getting on first and signed first, and then now help Cam and everybody get on it. But as far as making a name for themselves in the street, nobody had a name in the street like that.
Big L.
Right.
Big L had a name for himself. He was rapping early. He was signed early. He had some danger brothers.
That what Cam said.
They was uptown really shaking and moving. You dig? And that's not my part of town. That was uptown. You dig? Yeah, Cam used to be scared to death of them niggas to the point he didn't want to come outside. I didn't understand it because I'm from downtown. You heard? We had our own set of.
Here's Big Ant, your spokesperson, back at it again. Another fresh drop just hit my radar, so you know I had to tap in. Always stay pivoted, always locked in. I even left a link in the description so y'all can watch the full clip from the new Revolt podcast. They're out of New Orleans doing their thing. And when I saw that clip, I said, nah, there's no universe where Cam doesn't respond to this. Low-key, I was also expecting Dame Dash to jump in. And honestly, with all that's going on, I figured someone else might throw their hat in the ring. I even thought 50 Cent might pop up. I was like, let's just sit back and see how it plays out. Next thing you know, Cam hops on Instagram and fires one off. He says, why are you worried about me when your heat is off and your rent is due? Then he adds that it was supposedly 7 degrees in the Bronx last night. I'm sitting there like, hold up, who exactly is this aimed at? At first, I thought maybe he was speaking in general, especially with other clips floating around from the new Revolt episode. So I'm asking myself, who's he really shooting at? In my head, I'm thinking Jim Jones, but Cam didn't drop a name. He left it open-ended, real slick. Then, not too long after, 50 Cent comes through and reposts it, adding his own take. Damn, I hope y'all can chip in and get the heat turned back on. Once that happened, it became crystal clear. They weren't talking about anyone else but Jim Jones, especially since 50 had already been throwing those squatter jokes and rent-not-paid narratives. And if you know how this industry works, you already know what time it is. People talk, sides get picked, and info gets passed around behind the scenes. That's just how the game goes sometimes, bro. If you've been around it, none of this should be a surprise. And let's keep it real. It's a small world. Word travels fast. Somebody's always talking, somebody's always telling. Now, I don't know if all that stuff is actually true. We can't confirm it. But just hearing what was said, I'm low-key expecting Dame Dash to jump in at some point too, especially with all that little guy talk floating around. Nobody wants that label attached to them on a public platform. And Jim Jones, from the way he's moving, is just letting everything fly. He's keeping it 100, at least from his perspective. This is how he sees it. This is his truth. But we all know how it goes in this game, or in life. There are certain words you don't want thrown on your name, certain descriptions you don't want attached to you, especially when it's blasted on a major platform. And the people involved? Big egos all around. Every man has that instinct like, hold up, what do you mean by that? What exactly are you trying to say about me? Jim Jones wouldn't want anyone going on a platform painting him a certain way either. But at the same time, he's like, I'm just talking. I'm just saying what I feel. And this all comes on top of beef that's already simmering. You've got Jim Jones, Fab, and Dame Dash on one side, and 50 Cent floating around all of it. That alone is a whole conversation. The tension didn't just start yesterday. It's been brewing since the end of 2024, when 50 pulled up on Cam's talk with Flea and Jim Jones's name came up. Jim didn't respond right away. He held off until January 2025, when he went on the Respectfully Just the L Boys show. That's when things really went nuclear. After that, Cam and Jim started trading shots back and forth. Then Jim fired again. Then 50 jumped back in. And ever since, it's been up between Jim and 50. Then you had the Yo situation recently, which poured even more gasoline on the fire. That kicked off another round. Now we've got songs dropping, subs flying, posts getting reposted. I already knew Cam was eventually going to respond. I knew that much for sure. Cam said he wasn't really going to address the personal stuff anymore, but come on, this is hip-hop. We know how this goes. And I'm almost certain Dame Dash is going to have something to say too. That's just how these personalities move. For me personally, I got to go back and watch that full interview all the way through, because I love those conversations from that era. That energy, that history, that context, it always tells you more than the headlines. Just hearing something new, or even a detail I might have missed when it comes to the Roc-A-Fella era, the Dynasty era, that always pulls me back in. Then you bring in State Property, and right after that, Dipset enters the picture. That whole Roc-A-Fella era, that's when I was fully locked in. Everything that dropped, every artist, every rollout, I was paying attention. I was literally just playing that joint for somebody the other day when they were all in the video doing that Dame Dash bounce. Everybody was feeling it. And Beyonce had on the Mac Mitten shirt. That right there, that was a moment. That era really meant something to me. The State Property movies, Paid in Full, all the albums, all the mixtapes. Dipset's impact was crazy. State Property's impact was heavy too. They had me going back and replaying stuff I hadn't heard in years. I went and threw on that Beanie Sigel album again, the one with him and young Chris. I couldn't stop there. Then I went back to the Wanted album with Beanie. Then Cam dropped it with Jay. I was just letting them ride back to back, replaying that whole time period like it was nothing. I really sat there going through those moments, bruh. And during that same era, the clips were coming out and shaking everything up. Other artists were going crazy too. G-Unit was still on a crazy run. It just takes me back to a major time in my life, a time where I loved getting new albums, reading every magazine cover, checking liner notes, just being a kid, growing up, loving the culture. That's why I'll always be a fan of that era. That feeling doesn't go away. Now, as far as Dame Dash, I literally just covered him last week, him and 50 with that whole $100 business sales situation. Stuff happens. That's life. And Dame, you already know how he is. He's gonna pop off regardless. But I'll never downplay Dame's influence in this game. A lot of what he was preaching back then was ahead of its time. And that one Dame Dash clip on the tour bus, that's forever legendary, where he says it should never be just one crew in your crew. Everybody's gotta be on. So if one falls, the rest can still stand. That's a real gem. Dame dropped a lot of those gems over the years, so salute to Dame Dash. All of them had music I rocked with at some point. All of them left a mark. But right now, they are at odds, capital C's everywhere. And you already know 50 Cent is going to jump right in. He loves controversy, chaos, confusion, conflict, and confrontation. That's his lane. He keeps the algorithm fed on conflict.